This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by Greenworks Consults, a company run by longtime listener to the show, Jason, who's an expert when it comes to helping businesses get better at doing business. Learn more about what Greenworks Consults can do for you over at greenworksconsults.com, with works spelled W-O-R-X. That's greenworksconsults.com. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Friday, December 11th, 2020, and you're tuned in to episode 1006 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We kick off the day's news with a big story out of the world of finance, as marijuana listing site Weedmaps is set to go public via a merger at a $1.5 billion valuation. Weedmaps is set to merge with Silver Spike Acquisition Corporation, a so-called SPAC, or Special Purpose Acquisition Company, that is basically a big, giant blank check in search of a good company to buy. The deal between Silver Spike and Weedmaps will effectively create a new public entity running the Weedmaps business. SPACs are an easier way for marijuana-related companies to take their business public and are something we should see more of in the industry. Swing over to U.S. News and World Report for more here if you need it. Matt Lamers over at Marijuana Business Daily has our second top story on the day, as he picked up on news out of Canada, where marijuana giant Canopy Growth just announced that it is closing down 5 cultivation facilities, including all of its outdoor cultivation in the country, while also laying off around 220 employees. The idea of growing outdoor cannabis in Canada seems a questionable one to start with, at least when you compare cultivation in a country closer to the equator like Colombia. Canadian licensed marijuana companies have also been dealing with a mountain of unsold inventory, which helped drive Canopy to the decision to so drastically cut back its production. The company will take a pre-tax charge of $312 million US in the third and fourth fiscal quarter of the year as a result of the move. Detroit, Michigan will soon start to allow for adult-use marijuana dispensaries, nearly a year after other communities in the state opened their borders to adult-use shops. There will be 75 adult-use dispensary licenses made available at first, with 35 micro-business licenses, 35 public consumption establishment licenses, as well as an unlimited number of cultivation, transportation, and events planning licenses, with applications opening up as of January 19th. Under the city's adult use plans, a minimum of half of all available licenses have to be given to Detroit residents, with the entire batch to be actually issued in June. Those are the top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Greenworks Consults, a company run by longtime listener to the show, Jason, who's an expert when it comes to helping businesses get better at doing business. Jason and his team of fellow process experts can take a fresh set of eyes to all the different ways your company operates to pick out places where you could be doing things better and more efficiently, which will leave you more money in your bank account every single month. Because that's the beauty of fixing persistent business problems. You fix them once and enjoy the savings every time the monthly calendar ticks over. Do your business and your bank account a favor by opening up greenworksconsults.com, with works spelled W-O-R-X. That's greenworksconsults.com, where you can also get in touch with Jason about how they can help you. Big thanks to Greenworks Consults for the support that helps us keep the news lights running. All right. Time for the Blitz. To New Mexico we go, where the state's legal medical marijuana market is doing quite well, doubling in size over the course of the last year to just a touch over 101,000 registered patients, who will collectively have spent around $200 million on medical cannabis this year. Marijuana Business Daily projected that the state would bring in as much as $350 million in sales if adult use were to become legal, strengthening the argument for lifting prohibition. Thankfully, a number of proposed bills are being worked on as we speak. Jeff Smith over at Marijuana Business Daily has a good piece on this. Pop over for the full dive in if you have New Mexico on your industry radar. As we always do, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com. The Oakland, California City Council will take up deliberation next week over a resolution calling on the state to legalize psychedelic medicines. The city made headlines back in 2018 when it lifted criminal penalties for the possession of psychedelics, and just this summer, activists pushed the city to legalize psychedelic healing ceremonies. The resolution set to go before the city council next week is being pushed by the group Decriminalize Nature and would compel Oakland to officially push for the legalization or decriminalization of psychedelic medicine at the state level. Kyle Yeager has a good write-up on this one over at Marijuana Moment. A new proposed budget amendment in Massachusetts would give hemp farmers the ability to sell their crop to legal cannabis dispensaries. Massachusetts state law actually bars hemp farmers from processing their crop into CBD products like edibles, which has hamstrung their ability to exist profitably. The new change, which has been approved by the Legislature and is headed to the desk of Governor Charlie Baker, would allow farmers to sell directly to dispensaries and would give the state's industry a healthy jolt of less expensive CBD feedstock. So it'll be interesting to see how the effects ripple out should Baker sign it into law. Marijuana wholesale market maker LeafLink has closed on a $40 million Series C round of investment, bringing the company's total amount raised so far to $90 million. The round was led by Founders Fund with participation from Thrive Capital and Nosara Capital. A new poll out of Wyoming finds that a majority of residents support legalizing adult-use marijuana, with 54% saying they're in favor of the policy. That's a healthy jump up from the 37% who agreed with legal adult use in just 2014, and a touch under 50% 2 years ago. The level of support for medical cannabis was a stout 85%. Given that Wyoming's neighbors Montana and South Dakota both made adult use legal in last month's elections, it seems a good bet that Wyoming itself will be joining in soon enough. Bart Shainman over Marijuana Business Daily nicely highlights efforts in California by marijuana cultivators to pressure the state to lower fees involved with mixed light production, where cannabis farmers use shade cloth and sometimes artificial lights to trick plants into entering their flowering phase instead of relying on seasonal factors. Right now, mixed light licenses can cost as much as 2.5 times more than comparable outdoor grow licenses, even though the only difference between the two cultivation types is sometimes something as simple as using a shade cloth. A bit of a wonky headline, but a good one to fully understand if your business is in the Golden State. Our final headline on the day needs a quick disclosure, as it concerns a poll that was commissioned by our sponsor Curaleaf, which had the Harris Poll conduct a survey of 1,900 or so Americans of age, asking about their use of cannabis, specifically if the frequency of their marijuana use has increased this year. As you might expect, a lot of people decided that this year would be a good time to start using more marijuana, with 54% saying it was mainly to help ease their anxiety and stress. 48% said that it was to help them sleep better. Of those polled, around half said their use of marijuana was up this year since the start of the pandemic in March. Interestingly, 53% said that cannabis helps them use less pharmaceutical drugs. I would definitely give this one a full read today. You can't go wrong right now understanding how the ongoing pandemic is affecting the average consumer. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again on Tuesday with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Greenworks Consults, and to our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.